humanity did not develop that way, to wake up at 2 in the morning and go get ice cream. Some white sugar and some milk with plenty of chemicals in it. That is not, and whether it's a cigarette, whether it's cookies or chocolate cake. I know people who get up in the middle of the night and bake a pie, like 2 in the morning, making a pie.
That's wild, because you still got to wait. The addiction has to wait. There's a patient, so there's a real...
Those are people who are not Walmart ready.
Yeah, it's like, you're no driving, but I'll bake this pie.
You understand what an addiction is, we realize that drugs are only a small part of the addictive spectrum. I define addiction as manifested in any behavior that a person finds temporary pleasure or relief in and therefore craves, but suffers negative consequences in the long term as a result of, but does not give up despite negative consequences. So craving pleasure, relief in the short term, harm, inability to give it up. That's what an addiction is. Now, notice in that definition, I said nothing about drugs.
In 1985, tobacco giant R.J. Reynolds bought Nabisco Foods. Tobacco pioneer Philip Morris bought General Foods, and 3 years later, Kraft Foods, making them the largest food producer in North America. And leaving the business of food in the capable hands of the same corporations who helped addict us to tobacco. Using the same tactics they used to promote tobacco, food companies set about peddling the entire planet a diet of processed goods, loaded with chemicals and additives, masquerading as food. This new machine operates with specific targets in mind, like addicting consumers, without them knowing it.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. We are so happy that we have received so many new subscribers that are showering us with love and goodwill, that we would like to specifically thank all of those who are joining the Of the Sun family and coming to our channel. And we encourage you to subscribe so that we can come into your emails and you can see when we're talking about new topics and new things. And we're so happy to have you here with us. This is Tarvars of the Sun. I am LaOta of the Sun. And today we'll be talking about soul clearing. Tarvars, will you bring us into the call for truth?
Well, certainly. And we encourage you all to join us in this call for the truth. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth to come forward? Should we call to see the truth in all that we see? Should we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? And shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Shall we call for nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? And we are in the truth, and today we are talking about addictions. And this is something that we see and address within our advanced soul clearing process, where we see that the soul has addiction entities specifically. And I hear many people, even in the introductory consultation, say, I feel like there's something else that's pulling me in, like I'm not just dealing with myself. And I say, well, that's because that's accurate. That's really what's happening, where there's another force that maybe at some point, not maybe, but at some point of our vulnerability, we've allowed in and we've made an agreement and we're riding that wave together. And when they want to shake it off, they can't quite do it. So yeah, let's explore addiction. And we know it has many different facets, but where would you like to begin regarding this concept of addiction?
There's so many different areas, but I'd like to start with ancestry, the part that happened before we were born, the part that happened to our ancestors that is still alive in us. And when we're born, it is born into us, and then it waits to be activated. And then that aspect, which is multidimensional, as we are multidimensional beings, that aspect attaches either to physical material or energetic interference patterns or frequency at certain levels. It comes in as a parasite, and as we know, the behavior of a parasite is it will devour its host and then leave the carcass and move on to another host. And this exists in the same way that physical parasites exist. In fact, everything is multidimensional. So if you have something physical, you also have had something spiritual first. So you have the spiritual interference pattern, or what we might call parasitic energy, and then you eventually will manifest that same idea in all the dimensions of your experience. What I have found through the years that I have done this is that we are so much greater than those that prey upon us. Whether it's a physical parasite or an interference pattern or an ancestral situation or a past life situation, we are greater than that. But in our clarity, in our congruency, in our wanting to be clean, we can find the necessary resources and support to help us do that. Of the Sun is one of those supports. That once a person has decided that they need assistance and they're willing to assist themselves and they would like this level of hygiene, in the same way that you want to brush your teeth every day, you want to make sure the bathroom toilets are cleaned out, you want to make sure that your environment is pristine and smells good and is fresh and invigorating and life supporting. This is how we have not really been taught that this is how we must look at everything, whether it's the house that we sleep in or the person we're sleeping with or the physical body that we happen to inhabit. And that everything is everything. We are our ancestors, we are our partners, we are our location. So
yeah, so that's definitely spoken through the lens of the universal laws, principles, yes. The correspondence of everything. You got stuff up here, you got stuff down there, you got
Absolutely.
stuff everywhere. And I see where it's important to lean into it, and it helps us stay out of denial, but gives us greater understanding of what's taking place in our reality.
And it also gives us power. It is my intent to answer this question by empowering everyone to know that once you decide that you're going to have a different experience, it is within your reach.
So some of this is a decision, because what I've seen take place with myself included, but also with clients, is once this is cleared from their field, the addiction entities, which I still want to kind of dive a little further into it, and the varieties of addictions, because some things don't look like addiction,
yeah.
but it really is. Yeah. And sometimes people are like, what do you mean I have addiction entities? Because it's not usually your typical sex, drugs, alcohol. It might be the chocolate cake, or I know you got some stories about people getting out of their bed at 2 a.m. But the point I'm making is that that I have seen with the removal of the entities, at that point, it's just really about the person deciding and saying, you know what? I no longer want this, I want that. Would you speak about the power of the decision in deciding?
It's very much like silence is consent. It's very much this idea that if something is speaking to you, prompting you, encouraging you, presenting a craving to you, if you say nothing, then it has free rein. But if you say, I am intermittently fasting today, calm yourself, we'll eat later, then you have command over your material. Or you can be like, I gotta have snacks in the car, I gotta have snacks in the trunk, I gotta have snacks in the glove compartment, I need something in my backpack just in case. The craving, because people think of an addiction could be a craving for anything, to gamble, to shoplift, to steal, to lie. The overwhelming, like, go ahead, lie to them. That idea of something coming in and kind of usurping your will, and then you like, that what we doing?
Yeah, that's what we're doing, huh? So you mentioned something, this is a little tangential to it, something about like a person who's a smoker, and they feel the need to smoke, and they say, if I don't, my head's gonna hurt. And you were sharing with me how this is something making you do that or influencing you to do it. And the head hurting part is you better smoke that cigarette. It's time to do it. And I guess I got it. That's my cue to, because it's something else informing us, and we have essentially lost control or allowed something else to decide for us.
That's true. Mostly we don't know that we don't know another way of life. Everyone we know is addicted at some level. We see their addictions. It's normalized. We don't really know that our father is an alcoholic. We don't know that we shouldn't drink.
You even made a comment earlier about how the different corporations, they got science based upon this,
absolutely.
And they pay people to make things addictive with those additives and chemicals.
Well, absolutely. The tobacco industry, once it was shut down and they had to pay so many people, they then became the snack industry.
Wild stuff, ain't it?
It's
like devious.
So now they own all of the cookies and candy bars and snacks.
Like, ooh, what industry can we capitalize on addiction? Damn, that's dark as hell.
Yes, because they already have all the research and all the chemicals.
Yeah, not a hard leap, huh?
They don't want to waste that just because we can't do cigarettes anymore. So all of none of this is happenstance. We have been, what our will has been stolen from us, and we have been silenced. So what happens with addiction is even more diabolical, because addiction's still our will.
Yeah.
So this is a really important idea, that you tell me you're going to be there at 3, maybe you show up tomorrow, maybe you show up at 5, because what your word means nothing, because you don't have the will to back up what you say, because your addiction has all your will.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need that will for that ice cream tonight. I need that will for that cigarette. I have to get high so I won't have a headache. I have to save my will to respond to my cravings, whatever they may be. And there's a multitude of things that it could be. So the idea that you lose your will, that then means that you don't have the will to pursue whatever your own desire is for you, or for your children, or for your family. You don't have the necessary energy available to carry something through to the end.
I'm having a perspective here, seen through the lens of the thing that's attached, where it knows that. It knows that if this person places their energy on the things that serve them, it would no longer exist. The bond would never...
You wouldn't need it if you didn't have white flour and white sugar. You might be glowing and healthy and never consider such a thing. You couldn't keep alive the consciousness of the white flour and the sugar that contaminate everything.
So would you speak on this keeping alive the consciousness, this idea of how everything feeds, everything eats, everything needs more of itself to continue to exist, and how fasting and abstaining from a thing, whether it be food or a hobby, habit, what the power is within that idea?
I love this example I'm going to share. I use it often with clients, that the man who wanted to stop smoking and knew he was addicted, and he put a cigarette in his pocket, his shirt pocket. And every day when the craving hit, he took out the cigarette and he looked at it. He said, no. That's what's needed. The affirmation, the affirming of your own will, not the will of the consciousness that's living within you, feeding off of your life force. So this idea of being able to, maybe 6 times a day, he has to take out that cigarette. Still no, buddy.
That guy had a plan, though. He had a strategy.
Yes.
He wasn't just living blind. I could see, he was like, look, I'm waking up in the morning. I'm going to look at this thing. I'm not going to wait for the impulse. I'm going to decide, hey, buddy, come here. No, I said, like, that's so cool. That's taking control of your reality, though.
And that's developing will.
Yes.
And then that gives you integrity. And then when you have integrity, you can have the integrity of energy catapults you into the next success. Because you have the energy available, because you didn't just give it away because the consciousness of the cigarette was ready to be smoked.
Yeah.
We don't think of it that way, but it's that way with this food. there's something in the kitchen, or whether you're in the bed at night and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and in your peace and quiet where there's no distractions, there's no work to be done, there's no phones ringing, your entity sits up and says, I want some ice cream. Get up. Walmart's open 24 hours a day. You got a car. Get in the car. Let's go get us some ice cream. That is not, humanity did not develop that way, to wake up at 2 in the morning and go get ice cream. Some white sugar and some milk with plenty of chemicals in it. You know, that is not, and whether it's a cigarette, whether it's cookies or chocolate cake. I know people who get up in the middle of the night and bake a pie. You know, like 2 in the morning, making a pie.
That's wild. Because you still got to wait. The addiction has to wait. There's a patient, so there's a
now,
real...
Those are people who are not Walmart ready.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't do no driving, but I'll bake this pie.
Yeah, I mean, they figure out their own way to do it. So these are people who often don't recognize they're addicted because it might not be drugs, alcohol, sex, rock and roll.
Would you speak to how people could potentially be addicted to emotions? Because we've seen, and this is what I meant earlier, like there are things in our lives that we don't see as addiction, but there is sometimes I'll explain it to a client like this: compulsive behavior. It's a thing that you keep doing over and over and over and over to suppress something that you're not addressing.
There's so many instances of this, especially in relationships. I was just talking to somebody the other day and said, you know, you all are doing this cha-cha for 17 years. He goes 2 steps, you go 2 steps, you go 2 steps. Everybody's unhappy, everybody's mad, don't nobody like it, don't nobody want to keep doing it.
But they're addicted to the cha-cha.
Yeah, every time he says this, you say that. He says, I don't like this. You say, but I don't want to do it anyway. And then you're like, I got the right to do that. And I'm like, yes, but how's it working for you? So what is the ultimate idea of how it works for you? Is it working for you? Are you now elevated because you took the position? I recommend you be smart. And where there's room for, if you choose to be in a relationship, that means you have chosen compromise. That's the reality. It means the other person must be considered.
Yeah.
If you have children, you consider them. It's what that situation calls for. So if that's the case, then you may want to rate what's the top thing you don't want to do, get you a list of 10 things, and don't fight over them until we get to 5. You know, the top things on your list that have caused animosity may still cause animosity if they've been causing animosity for 15 years. So a lot of people are addicted to their point of view. My point of view is, I need to do whatever you do. If you can do it, I can do it. That may sound logical, but it may not work in the situation you've chosen to be in. And so that doesn't always work out. So a lot of people are addicted to the conflict. You know, in the same way some of us like oxytocin, and we like, you know, to get that nice energy and hormone from our brain when we eat a piece of dark chocolate. Some people want the conflict because then they have your full attention.
Ooh.
You know, like, oh, you're looking at me now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Made you mad, didn't I?
So how does one go about putting that on the fast? Like, I'm not feeding you.
I think the reality that none of this is elevated, none of this will make you live longer, none of this will make you cuter tomorrow. No. And that feeding the behavior that makes people angry with you is working in the opposite direction to life and vitality. So it all boils down to make decisions where you choose life. Are you choosing life? Is my argument with you that has been going on for 15 years, the same argument, is that worthy? I know what you're going to say, and you know what I'm going to say. So why do we need to say it? Mm-hmm. You know, at what point do we decide, you know what, the union of the two of us together is greater than the point I had about I have to do everything you do, the same way you do it, even though I'm a different experience. Like that, I'm going to make you bow to that. This idea of I own you and you need to do what I say.
So I'm seeing within this, the individual who feels the impulse having some level of awareness that it's there. Accepting, addiction, right? Acceptance is the first step. It's serious though. Because if you're in denial, like, oh, getting up to go to Walmart to get my cake and ice cream, that's not, it's just cake and ice cream.
Yeah.
No, you have a problem. And it's okay, no judgment.
But it's the same thing with the person who wants feels like another person's not paying enough attention, or they work away, and so they feel like they have to have the interaction, and they're willing to make sure that they get the eye contact, to make sure that they get the attention. They're willing to continue to do the thing that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. So I have another part to this. It seems as though there needs to be some type of aspire to goal for the person, because you were saying earlier, alluding to, it don't make you cute. I think the goal should be more than cute, but
but it's on the list. It's on a lot of people's list.
Elevation to make you cute. But so this is my point. Like, what are we working ourselves towards? This idea of embracing and embodying more of our divinity, purity, these types of things, and these type of behaviors cannot go or carry us into that direction.
Yeah.
So I do see that's a component. And then 3, there has to be like some type of practical action to kind of, before we go, because we're getting close to the end of our time, we might even be there already. Energetic hygiene practice, something that you feel that may help someone?
There are many hygiene practices we have, and all of them work beautifully. What I have found is that people often don't recognize how they don't recognize that they are suffering. They just think it's normal. And then if they do recognize, I don't feel good, I feel tired, they don't really understand that it is something they are thinking, that they have put into motion. They always externalize it. So once we look at ourselves as the fully responsible person in our own experience, then we have an opportunity to say, oh, I'm the one who gets up in the middle of the night. I'm the one who keeps saying the same thing. Like, I know what he's going to say if I say that, and I keep saying it.
Yeah.
So
You're the one.
Once we realize the finger always points back to us, and that there is the biggest opportunity and the biggest gift. The biggest gift is that we can't truly have the right to change anyone else, but we do have the right to change us.
Ooh. And we may be able to influence people through our change.
And once you change your life is going to change, and everybody around you is going to change. Oh, I can't wait to see what fell out the deck. So I'm going to ask you if you will pull our cards, because cards are jumping out of the deck.
This is awesome. You can't make this stuff up, yo. Yeah, you all saw the card jump. The theme is frequency. And the maxim reads, change the belief and broadcast the new vibrational equation, which is and feels different, and the universe responds.
And there you have it, the call for the truth. We also have a booklet in there that may also give a further explanation.
Well, yeah, we'll give a little bit. And by the way, we'll have a link in the description if you see these cards and you're like, I like those cards, I want those cards. They're in the description as well. So the maxim continues on, and it says, in a new and different way every time. So building off of this idea of every time we step into changing the broadcast, changing the belief system, changing the frequency, the field will always respond.
And it continues to change, and the trajectories change, and your opportunities change, and the ability for you to take the power of your own divinity and change your experience with every thought.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And it's blue too, it's throat chakra. We on that blue. Hey, get your throat chakra in order, your expression of truth. All right, we got to wrap up.
Thank you so much. We are so happy that we have so many new viewers. We're so happy for all the love that we get, all of the comments that you're making. We encourage you to subscribe to us. We'll have more videos coming out, and we thank you with honor, respect, and gratitude. In Lakesh, oneness, and veritas, truth.